Okay, so nice question here, which is looking at matrix multiplication where you want to find unknowns within the question. So what you got here is you've got two matrices being multiplied together and it is equal to this matrix and it's saying work out the values of A and B. Now, how do you do this? Now, you just work through your matrix multiplication as normal and you're going to see how it kind of unfolds nicely. So let's just begin by multiplying through these two matrices. And because it's a 2 by 2 matrix times by 2 by 2, we're going to be getting a 2 by 2 matrix. So we do the first row with the first column as always. So we go and do 3 times 2, which is 6, and then A times by minus 3, which is minus 3A. So we've got 6 minus 3A is the first term. Done. We then do the first row with the second column. So 3 times by minus 2, which is minus 6, and A times B, which is AB. So we've got minus 6 plus AB, or AB take away 6. But let's write it as minus 6 plus AB. Done. I then do the second row with the first column. So minus 2 times by 2 is minus 4. 1 times by minus 3 is minus 3. So minus 4, and then take away 3, which is the same thing as minus 7, is it? So minus 4 take away 3 gives you negative 7. I've then got the second row with the second column. So negative 2 times by negative 2 is 4. 1 times b is plus 1b, or just plus b. So I've got 4 plus b. Okay, so I've got 4 plus b down here. So I've just multiplied through the first two matrices, and that's equal to this down here. Now this is all equal to the matrix on the right. That's all equal to the matrix 12, 2, negative 7, and then 0. Now, I want to find the unknowns A and B. So I want to find the value of A and the value of B. Now, we can do this just by comparing terms in the matrices. Now, if I took this term, the top right term, because I've got two unknowns, A and B, not particularly useful. You really want to only have one unknown, which makes things a lot easier. So it's going to be much more useful to take either the top left term, I've only got one unknown, which is A, or the bottom right term, which is B. Now, it makes sense to begin by looking at the top left term, which is 6 take away 3A, and because these two matrices are equal, the top left term here must be equal to the top left term over here, over here. You are comparing the terms, and they must be equal. And because they're equal, you can now form an equation and say that 6 minus 3A must be equal to 12. Okay. Notice also that you can see down here, you've got minus 7 and minus 7, which makes sense because if the two matrices are equal, well, the terms should be equal. And there's no A and B in this one, it's just a number. So it makes sense that this number and this number are the same. Now, this is just an equation that I've got to go and solve. I've got to go and solve for A, so I want to get A on its own. Let's go and take away the 6 onto this side, which will leave us with minus 3A. So minus 3A being equal to 12 take away 6, which gives you 6. And then minus 3 times something gives you 6. In other words, or you can go and do 6 divided by negative 3, which is minus 2. So A is equal to negative 2. And this is our first solution. Okay, so A is equal to minus 2. So you found the value of A, which is really good. Now you want to find the value of B. Now you could do this by looking at the top right term, because you now know that the value of A is minus 2. You've only got one unknown, but it's going to be much easier just to look at the bottom right term, which is 4 plus B, and that must be equal to the bottom right term over here, which is just simply going to be 0. So I can create a second equation because they're equal, and I can just go and say that, well, 4 plus B must be equal to 0. Therefore, B must be equal to minus 4. And this is my solution for B. Okay, so I found the value of A, which is minus 2, and B is minus 4. And that's it. Now we can check our answer, and it's always good to check our answer, and we can check it by substituting in our values of A and B into the last, well, it's going to be an equation up here, and I can go and say, well, that if this is true, minus 6 plus AB must be equal to 2 when A is minus 2 and B is minus 4. And let's just double check this. Okay, let's go and do that over here. So we're just going to check our work. Always a good thing to check our work. Let's get our pen out. So let's go and do some checking. So this is true. It should be the case that minus 6 plus AB, where A is minus 2 and B is minus 4, so plus minus 2 times by minus 4, that should be equal to 2. So we've got minus 6, and then you've got minus 2 times by minus 4 is plus 8, and minus 6 plus 8 does indeed equal to the 2 that you want. Okay, so this equals to 2, which is really good. So you know that your solutions of minus 2 for A and minus 4 for B, they must be correct. And that's it. Okay, hopefully that was useful, and then on to the next video. Thank you.